Hello and welcome to Center of Weirdness, the weird podcast about very weird stuff, but it's mostly just an excuse to talk about episodes of weird TV shows. I'm Josh, and with me, as always, is Skinner. Hey, Skinner.
Hey, everybody. I'm Skinner, a dude with an attitude.
We're keeping our summertime theme going. I know we're getting closer to the end of the summer, but we had so much fun with Pacific Blue last time that we wanted to keep things going. It's still hot outside. And so we decided to turn our attention to a show that I only vaguely remembered, thinking that it was something very different than what it actually turns out to be. And that's California Dreams from 92. Apparently ran until 97, which is fucking wild, and had 78 episodes.
You may remember differently because apparently the premise changed every season.
Really? Okay, because I remembered it as, I knew that it was kind of a Saved by the Bell type show. It's produced by the same guy, Peter Engel. And so I thought like, oh, it's a bunch of kids who are in school, but they live in California, and they work at a beach club is what I thought. Like, I thought that it was about them working at a beach club, but it's not that, at least in this episode that we watched, which I think is the first episode, but maybe isn't.
It's the pilot episode, but it did not air first, but it should have because it's their first gig.
The episode is called First Gig, and they say it's our first gig. So it's kind of wild that they would have aired it fifth.
They hire their manager, who apparently gets is one of the few characters who gets all the way through the series.
Yeah, it looks like
episode.
Yeah, it looks like him and Tiffany, who is a member of the band, they are on for all 78, and Tony is there for 78, but the other folks are not. They seem to, from there it starts to like wane down. So is Jake our main guy?
He might be. So what happens is season 2. So the premise of this is we have this Matt and Jenny, who are brother and sister, they're family. And that's kind of the grounding part of this. Is that
Matt's only in 33 episodes.
But that's the thing. So after season 1, they get rid of Matt's entire family. So and then after season 2, they get rid of Matt.
Wow. So the family that we are with at the start of this episode, they are gone after a certain point.
NBC did not like the show's original format, and they got rid of the Garrison family.
Wow.
So then in the whole musical video, eventually they're just doing songs at the place they work.
Oh.
A rehearsal space and at the Pacific, whatever it's called. So it does move towards what you think it is pretty quickly.
Okay, so they're just hanging out at the like the beach bar, kind of like the Max, but it's their like, you know, their version of that basically.
Right. So the whole family thing is, so they slowly kind of get rid of the parents a little bit by bit. They get rid of the younger brother. He's fucking fired. He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone after the first season, it looks like, which is good because he's fucking annoying. The only thing he does in this one is talk about becoming a terrorist or something.
There are so many bad lines. Like, okay, every line reading in this show kind of pissed me off. But there's so many stupid things that no human would say that are said left and right in this. But this show. Let's talk about the song, because
Okay.
the song bookends the episode, and we had a discussion of what is this song. And what really struck me, we'll play a little bit of it. It's a very, like you said, kind of easy listening pop song.
Yeah,
but it's not. If you were youngsters, who these guys, they're supposed to be 16. They're not, but they're like 18, 19.
Yeah.
If you were going to form a band in the 90s, you wouldn't form a band to play this. A label would form you and give you these songs.
Yes.
You wouldn't play.
And these would be songs that were written by middle-aged people.
Right. I mean, the closest thing I can think of is Wilson Phillips songs.
Surf dudes with attitudes, kind of groovy. Laid back mood, sky above, sand below. Good vibrations, feeling mellow. Won't give it up, don't wanna stop.
it doesn't sound like a garage band.
No, it doesn't. Like, and it of course is that situation where there are, it's a multicultural group of people here. We've got
Apparently they try to vary it up more in the future seasons.
I guess when the front man is gone, when the
When,
two
like,
of the members of the band have left the show.
Well, his sister goes to Italy first.
Oh, okay.
She gets written out very quickly to go to a musical conservatory
Okay.
in Italy. That's which I love. But this is. Did you get the feeling like besides the song hitting right away and it just going like, why are these young people playing this fucking dental rock? What really struck me very quickly was for a pilot episode and even a fourth episode aired, this just comes in at medium res. Like it's.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like they are immediately, there's no setup to them having the band. They just have the band. They're just in a band that they've been working on forever.
And they're talking about the band. They want gigs, and you are act like you're supposed to know them in a way. Like they kind of introduce themselves, but also at the same time, it feels like. These are supposed to be like, oh, here's these characters that I love and know, and like, apparently, you wouldn't have. I can see why NBC looked at the first short season and goes, no, that all didn't work because it isn't a Saved by the Bell. It opens up very sitcom-y.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that we spent more time, like there was more time spent with the family than I was expecting. Like for some reason, I just thought it was going to open with them. Maybe starting the band since it was the first episode, or like it was, you're just kind of in with these people. Like they're at that the restaurant that they hang out at, Sharky's, which is an actual pizza chain. I don't know if it's based on that or not, but like,
are they all run by New Yorkers in California?
Apparently I need to look that up. I need to see if like Sharky's was started by James Gandolfini's cousin or something.
What? I mean, the
and
show
it's a Mexican grill, so it's not. I don't know if it's necessarily like.
I think everything is supposed to sound very generic. Like the band's called California Dreams. They go to Pacific High School. They live in quote unquote. They live in California.
Oh, weird. So this episode, let's see. When did this episode air? This aired. It would have been 92, right?
92. Yep.
So Sharky's, the first Sharky's, opened in Sherman Oaks, California in 92. So wow, I'm wondering if this predated that.
I can imagine. Like what really struck me about it was it took place way more at the kitchen table than I expected. I think I thought it would mostly take place at the restaurant. It kind of does, but also kind of doesn't.
Yeah, September 12th, 1992. So it's really hard to celebrate the anniversary of the first episode of California Dreams. You're real bummed out.
Now, back when you were 16 and forming a band, and you had your friend your bizarrely East Coast friend who wanted to be your manager in his dude, you're gonna get a Dell box cow print vest over purple pants and purple shirts.
Yeah.
Did you, when you were talking about how you wanted to get some babes early in the day, because that's when the babes are fresh and biting, did you do this in front of your parents?
Yeah, all the time. We would just chat about it, like chat about this girl that I was in love with, and
like how your friend came over and hit on your sister really hard in front of her parents, like your parents eating breakfast.
Yeah, that was so weird. So we open with the family at the kitchen table. Well, we open with the mom and dad at the kitchen table.
The Garrison family. It was hard for me to figure out everybody's name because the show starts running like you know everybody.
Yeah.
No one besides Sly's name, who he introduces himself when he walks in.
Yes,
because he's that character. And Randy Joe, who they say the name of 2,000 times. They very rarely just say, "Hey, Matt. Hey, Jenny.
Yeah.
Hey, Tiffany."
Yeah.
Like I just like someone like they needed to find one more step of like, Tell me what their names are.
Yeah, so Richard and Melody Garrison, that's the mom and dad. They are
not long for this world.
no, they're in 16 episodes and 14 episodes respectively, so they are cut after the first season.
Michael cut after one season.
Yes, the actor Michael Cutt plays Richard Garrison, and he is cut from the show pretty quickly thereafter.
Is Richard Garrison the guy who made the Ultima games?
I have no idea, but I was going to say really quick, we'll get to him, but Sly looks a lot like Retro Bill, the guy who was in the Dare Safety Tips VHSs. If you know who that is, just look up Retro Bill and you'll see. But he kind of dresses very similarly to Sly. He's got a slightly similar haircut and very very much reminded me of Retro Bill. But they're at the table. Dad is reading a newspaper. Jenny comes down, and she is concerned. She grabs the newspaper out of Dad's hands, which becomes a running joke, and is looking at the front page article that says people are spending less money, and she is upset about this. And her mom rightly calls her out and says, "Why?" And she says, "Well, if people stop spending money, then they won't pay to go to college," which means that her dad, who is a college professor, thanks for wedging that in there, will be out of work, and then she'll be homeless.
It was very shoehorned in. She is kind of dressed like she's proto grunge.
Yeah, she's got like a fishnet shirt over kind of a bra sort of thing.
But she's being portrayed in this episode as a rich girl who loves to shop.
Yeah, kind of like, and also
her costuming goes against what she's being portrayed as.
Yeah,
by the stereotypes of that time.
I think what you could read into that is that she's a bit of a poser. She wants to look cool, but maybe is just a suburb girl. Which I don't know where they live. By the way, they mention Melrose. They mention that they live on Ocean Drive, which I looked up the address they give, and I don't think there is one. I'm
like
sure
I said, I think everything is named here to be super generic to California, much like a later extremely racist place in India they make up.
So, they might live in Culver City, which would put them kind of close to. Let's see, how far would they be from Melrose Avenue? Not that far, probably like a good 30 minutes. So they could live in Ocean Drive in Culver City. So that's probably where they live. That would
They're
make
originally
sense.
from Iowa, by the way. I only this from Wikipedia. It's not mentioned on the episode. I don't
know,
but that way they're real people.
Yeah, I didn't know how we were supposed to know that. Like,
maybe it's brought up in the real first episode. I don't know, but like it is mentioned as part of the setup on the Wikipedia page, which I would not have had in 1992.
Yeah, so then we get our sort of ostensible main character, Matt, until he is removed from the show, and he comes down and he talks to Jenny about them practicing for the band, because he knows if they just practice a little bit more, they'll get a gig in no time and things will be going great. But she's busy. She's going to go shopping with. Who did she say she's shopping with?
Her friend. All I wrote down is boot shopping, because it seems so specific.
Yes,
not shoe shopping, boot shopping.
Well, I wasn't sure if she was happening to shop with Tiffany, who was also in the band, but I couldn't remember what she said. But
she's a surfer; she doesn't need boots.
That's true. Yeah. So
we know she's a surfer for obvious reasons.
But you're right about the costuming, because when we meet Tiffany, she's in a wetsuit, but then when you see her later, she's just wearing this like floral sundress thing that doesn't quite fit the vibe.
She wears a halter top later. She's got her belly showing.
I mean, yes, anyone can wear whatever they want. We're not saying that. But like, if you're trying to set up these characters with archetypes, it sort of is weird, because she looks too much like
she looks almost
Randy
like
Joe.
She does. She looks with her haircut and her costuming, she looks kind of Reality Bites.
Yeah, a little bit.
She's got that Demi Moore Winona Ryder.
Oh, you mean Jenny?
Jenny.
Yes, I was talking about Tiffany, but yes.
No, but yeah, like Jenny looks like Reality Bites, but she's apparently instead being portrayed as basically clueless. I don't know. I can't quite figure it out.
Yeah, she's got a weird mom haircut that doesn't totally fit and make her seem older than she is. But so they're talking about practicing. She's got stuff to do. Then
Are they supposed to be twins?
Maybe.
Because they have two 16-year-old kids and then one who's like 5.
That's true. Maybe they are twins. And then Dennis, the son, I get his name from IMDb because they don't say it in the episode, I don't think. But he comes down and then he snags the paper. That's also a running gag. Matt snags the paper from Dad, and then Dennis snags the paper from Dad to grab the comics. And he says, well, you wanted me to take an interest in reading, so that's what I'm doing with the comics here. And then he says, I can't remember what he says, but then he mentions, well, if I can't do that, then I guess I'll just become a terrorist.
Yeah, I mean, that is... Maybe this kid grew up to be like a fucking Proud Boy.
Probably.
You know, an Iowan who grew up here in up in California.
Fucking sleeper cell.
Sleeper cell. He was supposed to have everything handed to him, and then his family, everything fell apart.
Yeah, they were forced out of California. They had to leave their brother behind and take off a year early.
His dad on campuses got to meet Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, he met him at the Grand Canyon.
This is the Grand Canyon thing. The problem with this episode, among everything, like I don't know how this made it to air because it's so disjointed, but the central crux and conflict in this episode is so dumb. And when it's one thing when the kids are kind of trying to figure it out, but the parents not having a solution to it. And I don't know if it how you buy and get and manage airplane tickets at the time is so different than now.
Yeah. You could just switch tickets with a random family and it's fine. Could you We'll get to it. We'll get to it. So
like everything about this.
Yeah, so Dad mentions wanting to look through the paper to try to win tickets to the Grand Canyon. Because he always wanted to do that.
Why can't he, like, what's stopping him?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, honestly. Like the way this whole thing plays out.
They have a giant house.
Yes, they do have a very big house. They have the sitcom style house. Like when we see Matt's room later, it's fucking massive. Like I can only imagine what the primary room, like the main bedroom that the parents sleep in must look like. It must be the size of my apartment.
They probably have 2 different beds. One for sleeping and one for fucking on. They're both in them, but they just like to keep one clean and one they want to keep one dirty. Let's go visit that Grand Canyon.
Melody, tonight's a pretty special night. I think I finally bought those Grand Canyon tickets. Maybe we use the fucking bed tonight instead of the sleeping bed.
And then that little shit-eating Dennis comes in and sits on the other one and wants to watch.
Oh God.
He's very interested in the love life of his brother.
That is true. He is very curious whether or not Matt kisses Randy Joe on their date, which is
that coming to nothing. I was sure that they were going to make Randy Joe mean.
No, they don't. She seems pretty nice. She's a rich girl, but she seems pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, like they set her up like, oh, here's this rich girl. Oh, she's so beautiful. And then she's like, "Oh, I heard you had a band." I thought, like, okay, they're gonna humiliate. She's gonna humiliate them at some point.
Yeah.
No, she likes them,
or they're not gonna be good enough, and she's gonna go, "Well, your guys are losers," and then they're gonna have to get better to impress her. But no,
or something.
She just loves them right out of the gate.
You're in a band? Cool. Can I go see your rehearsal? Great. I'm here. Great. You're really good. You should play at my Sweet 16. Good. It goes well. Fine. Our date went great.
There's no real there is a conflict, but it's a very slim conflict. So we have to stop though, because I have to talk about Randy Joe, which is such a wild name to me for someone who lives in California. But
it also helps that it is said multiple times.
This is true.
More than any other character.
She is played by Brittany Powell, who I recognized, and I was like, I don't know where I know her from. And then you pointed out that she was in some Playboy thing, and I was like, maybe that's it, but I don't think that's what it was. And then I looked at her IMDb.
You don't memorize their names.
That's true. And I'm only watching for like a minute or two anyway. So I looked her up, and she's probably going to come back. We're going to talk about her, I think, probably at some point on this show again. But I remembered her when looking at her IMDb. I remembered her from the movie Dragon World. And I'm almost positive that no one has seen this movie except maybe me. And I have seen it way too many times. Do you know what Dragon World is?
No, I don't.
Okay. So Dragon World is basically it's about this kid who they find a dragon, and then they build like an amusement park around it. Like there's like evil land developers or like bad guys or whatever involved. But she's in that. She's like the main love interest, I think. It was
of the dragon?
No, of the main character guy.
Is he a dragon?
No, he's not. But this was released by Moonbeam Entertainment. And,
Full Moonbeam.
Well, Moonbeam Entertainment was the family division of Full Moon Entertainment, the Charles Band company that put out like Demonic Toys and Puppet Master and like all of those movies. Like they have Evil Bong now or whatever. It's one of their, I think, most recent movies. And they put out all kinds of like cult video stuff. So, you know, it was around, but then they had this like family thing where they put out Dragon World, which I think was maybe supposed to ride the coattails of Dragon Heart, even though they're totally different types of movies. They were kind of the asylum of the day, because they also put out a movie called Remote, which I think is on YouTube. I watched it recently. It's terrible, but I loved it as a kid, where it's basically a Home Alone ripoff. This kid has all these remote control toys, which he uses to foil some bad guys who are hanging out in a unfinished housing subdivision where he hangs out. And it's really terrible, but I watched a ton of these. It's not the
quality film that Dragon Heart is.
No, I mean, Dragon Heart is a more quality film than Dragon World. There was also, I think the most famous Moonbeam movies were the pre-Hysteria movies, where that kid finds those little dinosaurs. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, they were in that, but looking through her IMDb, when I was able to figure out where I knew her from, which is great. But I also saw that she's in a couple more episodes of California Dreams. She's also in the Harry and the Hendersons TV series.
We've mentioned that for this show, right?
Yeah, she's also in something called 2000 Malibu Road, which came out in 92 and was a TV series. Maybe something we could look into. She was in an episode of Silk Stockings, which I know we have talked about. She's in a couple episodes of the Weird Science TV series. She's in she's in an episode of the Renegades TV series, which we are definitely going to talk about. She's in Pacific Palisades, a TV series which we probably will cover at some point. In an episode of 18 Wheels of Justice, which we have already talked about and we'll go back to at some point. So she's been around and has been in stuff that we will probably cover at some point.
And that concludes our episode on
Brittany Powell.
Brittany Powell.
Sorry for that little detour, but I mean, we're going to talk about her again, I'm sure, at some point. I mean, because we're definitely going to cover at least one of those shows, whether she's in it or not. But yeah, so Matt is smitten with Randy Joe, because earlier Dennis mentions that he heard him singing a song about her, or singing a song where he says, "Oh, Randy Joe, which makes me wonder, was Matt just jerking off and Dennis heard him?
I'm pretty sure he was. I mean, that's where he does his best work.
And so he
Strumming the guitar.
So they all meet up at Sharky's, where they hang out. This is where we meet Tony, who works at Sharky's but is also in the band. This is the black guy in the band. So we have Matt, a white guy. We have Jenny, his sister, a white girl with dark hair. We have Tiffany, a white girl with blonde hair, and we have Tony, a black guy. So they have a nice cross section of people in this band.
I feel like they give him all the worst dialogue.
They do, because they even make reference like later when Matt's dad has bought tickets to the Grand Canyon at the same time as their gig, and they're trying to figure out how to make it work, and they realize that this means so much to their dad that they're probably going to have to miss the gig. Tony mentioned something about whether if his dad did the same thing, he would look at the guy who got his family out of the ghetto and got them a better life somewhere else and say, okay, let's go to the Grand Canyon. So like they didn't need to mention that his family was from the ghetto, did they?
They didn't need to do a whole lot with the Indian family.
Okay, well, we're not there yet, but
I'm just letting you know in advance, like that is the worst part of the entire episode.
Absolutely. But it's kind of fucked up to have to mention that your only black character in the show, used to live in the ghetto before their family got out of there. It's like, you don't have to say that. He could just he just happens to be a black kid who lives in in California near the beach. Like he doesn't need to have gotten out of the ghetto.
How did he get to California? How did he get to where he's at? He couldn't have just been born there.
No,
you have to have a backstory.
Yeah, it's like that weird thing that they have to feel like they feel like they have to do, and it's like you don't have to do that. You could still have him say, like, I would just look my dad in the face and I would say, all right, man, we're going to the Grand Canyon. Like, just because you love your dad, you're gonna do what your dad wants to do if it means something to him. Like,
I feel like they have him overdoing everything he says. Like he's like, he just never just says anything. He has to.
Yeah.
It's hard to put into words exactly what they're doing with him.
Well, they are playing up the idea like that he's from the ghetto. Like I don't know if it's the actor's choice to do that or if the producers are saying, hey, we need to, punch it up a little bit. I don't know. It's
the
not
pilot.
necessary.
Maybe he calms down a bit later, but
I mean, he is in the show for the entire run, so
he is. Has he pointed out that all the male characters are just so fucking horny?
They are.
Like all they're doing is like, in theory, they should be excited about the band, but literally they basically say, even though the band has 2 girls in it, they're in the band to get girlfriends.
Sure.
To get groupies. They want groupies.
Yeah.
Explicitly. Your sister's in the band.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Tiffany comes in and she's wearing a full swimsuit and holding her surfboard, and she just takes it into the restaurant with her. She's dry as a bone and drops the surfboard right onto one of the tables, taking up an entire table.
Yeah.
So you know that she's the surfer of the group.
Yeah.
It is. Nothing could make her seem less authentic.
Well, yeah, she is. She mentions that every time she tries to catch a wave, there's like 20 guys around her, and it messes her up, and she's bummed about it.
If you ever like, here's a little hint. If you have a character you want to look young and cool, and it's to this day, shows will do this, and they have them be the character who skateboards, but they're only ever carrying the skateboard and they're never using the skateboard. You have an inauthentic character.
Yeah, of course. So they're all hanging out. We mentioned that Sly is still trying to be their manager, but they're like kind of hesitant or they don't want him to. But then Randy Joe walks over. Matt's like a bumbling dummy when she talks to him, but she's like, hey, I heard you had a band. I'd be interested to hear you play. We have I have a Sweet 16 party coming up and maybe you'd play. And Sylvester Sly here, he hates being called Sylvester, excuse me. He steps in and kind of arranges it, gives her the address. She comes by. And they play a song, which I think is actually the best song in the episode. I think it's a decent song. It's kind of got like
it just doesn't sound like a song they're playing.
No, of course not. And it doesn't
Like
sound like a song that they would come up with. I think that it works. It's kind of cheesy, but for whatever reason, it clicked for me.
It is a bop. It's just funny that like they're like 1, 2, 3, and then they're playing
Yes.
a radio quality song.
Of course, yeah, no, of course.
It's a wall of it's a completely wall of noise, highly produced song.
Sure, yeah, it kind of comes out
garage.
of nowhere. It's pretty funny, and it's also not very long. It's like 30 seconds, which of course they have to do for.
It's very Gem and the Holograms.
It is for a TV show. They have to make it short, but it's just like write another line or two for that one. I think it's about going down to the dunes or something like that. I don't remember.
He wants to go down to her dunes.
That's right.
1, 2, 3, 4. Can't stop the tide from rising. Surf's up, they're breaking outside. From the light of dawn to the midnight sun, we're gonna ride, ride, ride into the dew. Into the dew. Can't stop, surf's up, breaking outside. Ride, ride, ride. Can't stop, surf's up, breaking outside. Ride, ride, ride.
And she is immediately like cool with it. She's like, "Yep, I want you to play it at the party." And she's like, "How much would you charge for this?" And Sly jumps in here and says $250, which still feels pretty low. But she's like, "Yeah, that sounds fine," because she's a rich girl. Doesn't bother her, which they maybe should have asked for more, but whatever. And
I thought at some point when their parents were going to be like small wonder when they said like hey, you should be charging more than 10 cents a burrito.
Yeah.
I thought the parents when they found out about the 250 would be like, that's not very much. That won't cover anything.
Yeah.
Instead, everyone's like, that's a great price, and I'm like, yeah. Well, it really helps that your parents are loaded.
I mean, it should be because $250 split among 4 people.
4 people plus a manager.
Plus the manager now. Like, that's not very much.
And yet, you.
I mean, it's $50 a person if they give the manager an equal share.
And yet, it was near impossible. It was an impossible dream for their father to ever go to the Grand Canyon.
So yes,
he had but one chance this Friday.
They run in to the kitchen and scare their mother, who drops a bunch of dishes on the ground, breaking them, and they tell her that they got a gig, and she's very excited for them and for them getting paid. She's like, "This is great. That's amazing. This money that you got will pay for the dishes." And then at that moment, their dad comes in and says, "You know what? You guys were on me for never making a commitment, and I finally just did it. I got us tickets to the Grand Canyon, and this Friday night." And you're like, "Oh no, what are we gonna do?" So that's the major conflict of the episode, which is not really much of a like they figure it out real easy. And I thought you kept saying you're never going to guess how they solve this conflict. I was like, "Oh, they're going to somehow convince this rich girl to move her party to the Grand Canyon, or they're going to play it on the airplane there or something." And it's not that at all. It's way worse.
When I said you were never gonna guess it, I literally meant it was impossible for you to guess it.
It is impossible. So basically, Matt is very upset because he knows that this is very important to his dad. He goes on a date with Randy Joe. Randy Joe. I couldn't remember.
Randy
her
Joe.
fucking name.
All off screen.
All off screen, which is fucking annoying. Like he comes back, he's on cloud 9 because it was so great. It sounded like they might have fucked, but I couldn't quite tell because he's like, the room was so nice and she was nice. I was like, where were you guys? What were you doing?
I don't know. He wore a full jacket and tie, mustard yellow.
Yeah, it's not. It's no longer a sweet 16. It's a spoiled 16 party for Randy Joe.
God, man. You think I at least wanted him to play at the Sweet 16 and then have to watch her dance with her actual boyfriend while he played the music to it.
No, I mean, I think they're dating
California
at least for 3
cucks.
episodes.
So that's why I want to see him. I want to see episode 1. He's cucked.
So they're upset, but then he wasn't able to ask her to move the party because I guess he was too busy getting down to Pound Town. And so this is when Sly steps in, who I realize on the Wikipedia, he's credited as Sylvester, in quotes, Sly Winkle.
It's not a real name.
Sly Winkle. Michael Caine, who looks sort of like Tom Cruise a little bit, at least in some of his headshots.
Apparently his catchphrase is "baboom," but we don't see it in the pilot, so I'm very upset.
Yeah, that's a bummer. He does not
He
does not say baboom in this one.
Yeah, he's got a strained and distant relationship with his father. He does not need that kind of background. He is a cartoon.
Yes,
he's wearing a cow print vest and a purple shirt and purple pants for most of this episode.
Yeah, he says, "Let me figure this out because I'm your manager. I can make this work. I can switch your ticket so you can go later." Which I don't understand how this fucking Grand Canyon trip is working because Dad got them burrows down to the bottom. So like you got to do that during the day. This Sweet 16 party is at night. They're flying out at night. I guess they're gonna do it on Saturday. I guess
maybe those tickets they could exchange the date. Maybe they just need to find some foreign couple that would also have tickets to that and have some terribly racist plan with that as well.
So
like, I'm so nervous about explaining what this is.
Okay, I will try to do it as delicately as I can. I mean, obviously, we're not going to mire in the muck that this show does, but so Sly has somehow found a family that is also going to the Grand Canyon on the same flight on the same day, or on a later flight on the same day.
Yes.
And they have the exact number of tickets that they need to switch. And so what he does is he tells them that he will help them, he will allow them to meet a very famous rock band if they switch their tickets, if they give him the later tickets. And he disguises our band, California Dreams, as Van Halen and brings them out. Now, what I have not mentioned yet is that, and we already kind of alluded to it, but this is an Indian family. And we know that they are Indian because they specifically say that they saw Van Halen play at the Gandhi Stadium last year in Calcutta.
Not a real thing.
No, not a real thing. And so,
and like just the grossest joke you could like.
I mean, they
could have just said at the stadium in Calcutta.
Yes, they could have done that. They also didn't have to have these actors doing exaggerated Indian accents. Not saying that these actors
acting like idiots.
Not saying that these actors didn't actually speak that way. I don't know that for sure, but I imagine that they were probably told to play it up because again, this is fucking 92 and we had no like decorum on that kind of thing. You couldn't be from another place and just talk like a person. You had to have a very strong over-the-top accent so that people in the audience knew that you were from another place.
I mean, we're lucky they were actual Indian actors.
That is true. They were not, as far as I could tell, they were Indian actors. And
it was not Fisher Stevens.
That's very, very good point. Thank God that they didn't do that. But these people do, because they're idiots, believe that this band comprised of women and a black guy who are not in Van Halen as far as I know, are Van Halen. And he thinks Matt is Eddie Van Halen.
And then Matt has a crisis of conscience because this is terrible.
Yes.
And he takes off his wig and basically says, I can't do this anymore. And yet they still believe he's Van Halen. It's just that Van Halen wears a wig.
Yes.
And they say, let's take a bunch of pictures of him to sell.
Yes.
To the
Inquirer.
Yes. This is their best foot forward. This is their okay, we are pitching this show. This is what we come up with. This is all our best ideas for the pilot. And this is in here.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. So this works somehow. They are able to trade out the tickets, which is incredible, and they are able to play the party. They start to play, and they're everything is going great. Everybody's loving it. Apparently, their parents are there for some reason at this Sweet 16 because I guess they're going to leave right from this party to the airport. And they decide to play one last song, and it is the intro of the fucking show. They cut to the intro credits, a longer version of the intro credits. They play the entire song.
So, a music video. We have the boys wearing matching checkerboard shorts and doing terrible dancing. The girls in bikinis.
Yep. On the beach, running around.
Dudes with attitudes. They actually say that it is a parody of one of these songs.
Yes.
But it is played straight as an arrow.
It is, and it sucks because the song they played in the garage was a better song, and they only played like 30 seconds of that, and this one is like 2 minutes.
It's so, and there, I get, it's the pilot. You had to play the whole song.
Sure.
But I mean, I don't know how different it is than when we all love the longer version of the theme song to Friends, but
I don't think this song from California Dreams ever played on the fucking radio.
I hope not. I mean, they released a soundtrack, and they played a reunion concert on Jimmy Fallon for I can't even imagine why.
What California Dreams did?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
Because someone must have watched the show. Even it was on a lot. But cast reunion in 2010, laid out Jimmy Fallon.
Oh my God.
They played the theme song. They played this version.
Wow.
This song. It is I don't know, man. The weird thing is it is a comedy, but their band part is played so fucking straight.
Yeah.
Like you're just like, I don't know. It's just something about it. Like they're too old for this.
Yeah.
They're too old to play this music. Like I don't know why it's different than Wilson Phillips holding on for one more day, but like it just is so crazy. And then these 19 and 20-year-olds who are pretending they're at Sweet 16 and say like, oh, they want to hire them as well for their bodacious shindig at Sweet 16 on the beach. And I'm like, we didn't actually talk like that back in 92.
I mean, I don't know. Were we still in that whole like throwback to the 50s kind of thing that was popular in the 80s? Were they still doing that in the early 90s? Maybe.
Yeah, but like, I mean, people did on TV, but you never like, I didn't call anything bodacious to another human being out loud.
Yeah, no, no, definitely not.
It's like, like the Dayglow 80s that, movies say, no, it was all fucking, wood grain shit and orange.
Yeah,
and
just watch a fucking 80s movie and see what they wore and then use that, have that be what your characters wear in your 2000 show, like.
Yeah, it's not based on a fucking advertisement in Nintendo Power. Like, that's not what we fucking look like.
But yeah, so that is the episode. That is the first episode of California Dreams. It's, I mean, I was gonna say like it's not that weird until we got to the Indian family bit, which is just fucking insane.
Yeah, I'm gonna like on our scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the weirdest, I'm giving it a 5.5 just based on that, and this is a really simple concept from somebody who had at that point was probably would walk around town telling you that he had mastered the concept, created it, mastered it with Saved by the Bell.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I can see why they had to retool this constantly. This is a fucking misstep. How did this make, like, he must have cashed in a lot of ships to keep this on the air, because this is no good. It is neither a sitcom nor is it a Saved by the Bell. It is just It doesn't know what it is.
Not from this pilot for sure. I think
And
it must,
kids are too old.
yeah, it must nail it down at some point, because otherwise, how the fuck did it stay on for 5 years? But I guess you're right. If they kept retooling it, every couple seasons and getting rid of people and bringing new people on.
Well, I mean, by the time, if they had stayed on, the ones who stayed on, who started at 18 as 16-year-olds, like at the end of the show, they had to be mid-20s.
Yeah, they were in their mid-20s. That's right. I guess I will rate it with your 5.5. I guess I'll go like probably I'll say 5, specifically because of that family. Like that just is it adds it up there. That adds to it. It's kind of a rough moment, and you're just like, God, no, why are they doing this?
I almost took off my headphones, but then I wouldn't have been able to hear you. Also have to suffer through it.
Yeah,
but it is it's uncomfortable, which I get it. Like in the 90s, we thought fucking Indian accents were the fucking funniest thing, and it's been like literally like kicking and screaming in 2 years ago, trying to finally tell people like, hey, it's not just fucking funny to hear an Indian accent.
Yeah.
Just look, the whole Apu thing, just like how angry people were to be told that wasn't appropriate.
Yeah.
It's just,
yeah. So, as we sometimes do with these shows, where there's a lot of episodes, I kind of wanted to run through some of the later seasons, look at some of the episodes they do, and kind of wonder what the fuck they're thinking. Which, who knows if we'll ever retouch this show again. I don't know that we will. It didn't quite grab me like Pacific. Was that Pacific Blue that we did last time?
Oh, that Pacific Blue may end up being the show the best thing we watch.
Yeah, I mean, we got. I will say that we've kind of planned ahead a little bit. We've got a couple more fun, hot summer shows coming, and those might rival Pacific Blue.
We have two in a particular that are just going to be excellent.
Yeah, I think there might be some real good stuff. But I found another episode of California Dreams from season 1. It's called They Shoot Videos, Don't They? Where Sly convinces the band to shoot a music video for a chance to win $10,000. But when he insists that Matt kiss another girl, it drives a wedge between him and his girlfriend, Randy Joe. So they did obviously get together, and maybe this is what broke them up. I don't know.
That is, I mean, you had to write it off eventually.
Yeah, they I guess there's a new character named Jake that joins, and he wants to join the band in the first episode of season 2. But they like his songwriting skills, but they're worried that his image might clash with theirs. And in most of the pictures, he's wearing like a leather jacket and he has slicked back hair, so he's like a greaser guy.
So here's one that that really stood out to me for really just the last sentence that I hope ends the entire episode. It's season 2. It's episode 30.
Episode 30.
Yeah.
Wait. No.
30 of the season. A 30th episode overall, 17th of the season.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, Jesus Christ.
So this is called Dirty Dog Days.
Yes.
The guys start fooling around with an old radio transmitter of Sly's using false names. I love this ham radio deal. And eventually decide to air some of the Dreams music, crediting the band as the Dirty Dogs.
Nice.
The songs are a huge hit, but when the guys tell everyone the dogs have been California Dreams all along, no one believes them. To make matters worse, it turns out they've been broadcasting illegally, and the FCC shows up to shut them down. I want the episode to end with the FCC coming in and arresting them, and then they go off, and then the credits.
That would be that's the end of the show. There was one more. I gotta see if I can find it really quick. It was in I think it's in. Let's see. Oh my God. There's an episode.
It's the one about the Yeti?
No, I didn't see that one, but I found another one from season 4, episode 8, Old. When Tiffany takes a group of senior citizen surfers on his students, takes them to the beach that makes you old, Sly reveals his prejudice towards older people. Will a nightmare he's old change his mind in time to make amends? And the thumbnail for it is just him in an old man mask.
I wish we had done that one. I will finish with from season 4, I believe. Season 3, the 8th episode of the set season, and like I said, it has to do with the Yeti. The Princess and the Yeti, Lorena's father, I don't know, that's must be a newer character, hires the Dreams to play at his ski resort in Colorado, giving the gang a chance to have some fun on the slopes. However, their holiday is marred by rumors of a Yeti roaming in the area. Something that seems a lot less silly once they find themselves lost in the woods.
God. Oh, that was their Halloween episode too.
Yep.
I bet that
October
was real.
29th,
I bet that was real
1994.
spooky. All right, I'm gonna close it out with this one. This is also from season 3, episode 12. Harley and the Marlboro Man. Much to the concern of his friends,
Can you call it that?
Yes, especially Lorena, Jake takes up smoking to emulate his idol, his Uncle Frank. Meanwhile, the rest of the gang finds some money on the beach and contemplate what to do with it.
Apparently, Sly thinks investing the money in a get-rich-quick scheme is a good idea.
Man, that I would love to watch that Yeti episode. If you out there know how to watch that episode, let me know, because I'm very curious about that one. That would be very
There's
funny.
also at one point they make up create a TV show at school and make one that's a cross between a surfing show and Mr. Rogers.
This is like a very
Oh, they have a Wayne's World parody in it.
oh my god, that's pretty amazing. And finally, the very last episode, season 5, episode 15, from December of 1996.
The last gig.
The last gig, very very clever. They were ahead of the game on naming their episodes appropriately. As all the band except Jake, who's staying behind in Pacific Coast. That's, I guess, the town they live in, Pacific Coast. Prepare to go their separate ways to college. Jake, in denial, tries one more time to get the band signed and is shocked when they turn down a record contract. Wow, that's the saddest episode.
And they play the final gig and say by 96, 4 years later, they are still they're just finally finishing high school.
Oh, so they were all freshmen then. So wait,
That's insane.
So they were 14 when they were 14 and he's dating a 16-year-old?
There's no way. There's no way. That's ridiculous. They can't do that. They would be so
That is what
old.
it is. That's what it is. They were 14 years old in the first episode. That also makes Jenny's like 35-year-old mom haircut all the worse.
What the hell? That's I'm done.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Center of Weirdness on California Dreams. Until next time, when we'll be back with another hot episode in our sort of unofficial summer series. I've been Josh.
I've been Skinner.
And keep it weird and keep those dreams California-ing. You've been listening to Center of Weirdness. If you like this show, rate and review us wherever you find it, but especially on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to every episode at centerofweird.com, where you can also find all of the old Predictocast episodes. And if you want to get in touch with us to tell us about a show we should cover, hit us up on Twitter at WeirdCenter. As always, thanks for listening.